What's up, guys? Today is part 4 in our pulling mechanics series, and we're going to be talking about a dynamic start. First, I'm going to tell you what a dynamic start is, and then I'm going to explain why it may or may not be a good idea to utilize one when you're doing snatches or cleans. So a dynamic start is essentially the added movement you'll see some lifters do before they actually pull the bar off the ground. What it does is it gives you a little bit of momentum going into that first pull. How much momentum it's actually giving you is pretty subjective. I don't think any weightlifting coach really knows how much it is helping their lifters. But what I can tell you is a lot of lifters add this dynamic start in out of natural habit. They just start lifting and they end up doing some added movement, and it makes them feel comfortable when they lift. What's complicated about weightlifting is you really have to train certain positions for long periods of time to see how helpful they are for you. So if you have an athlete who does a dynamic start from the very beginning and they carry it all the way throughout their weightlifting career, you never really know if them taking it out will benefit them in the long run. Because it seems comfortable for those lifters though, it seems like it may be a benefit for them. In addition to that, the dynamic start can be done in a multitude of ways. So you have one variation where someone might go all the way into the bottom of a squat, then raise their hips aggressively, and then yank the bar off the ground. That's more something that Klokov does. And then you have something like what Ilya Ilyin does, where he just kind of rips into his start position and immediately pulls the bar off the ground. And then you have someone like Maddie Rogers who picks her butt up into the air, drops into her starting position, and then pulls right away. Now, despite there being a ton of different ways to do a dynamic start, there are also a lot of issues that can arise from utilizing one. So for example, if I'm utilizing the Klokov dynamic start where I bring my butt all the way down into a squat and then raise my hips aggressively, if I take too long to break the bar off of the floor, I'll be in this horrible position where I'm way over the bar, my butt's too high, and now I have to use my back a ton to recover, and I'm not really utilizing my legs as much in the lift. If I try utilizing a dynamic start like Ilya Ilyin's, I may not have enough time to get my upper back tight and engaged before I break the bar off of the floor. So you have to keep those things in mind. Even if you're doing something that feels natural for your body, you have to make sure that you hit the universal points that make Olympic lifts efficient and strong. So what is my recommendation? If you are a beginner, I definitely recommend starting from a static position. So figuring out where you're going to break the bar off the floor, being in that nice, tight, engaged position, pushing with the legs, breaking the bar off the floor, and then completing the first, second, third pull, and then the rest of the lift. Once you have a very consistent pull and starting position, then you can experiment with certain dynamic starts that feel comfortable for you. Again, it's going to be different for every lifter. If you just try whatever you see online, it may work very poorly for you, or it may work well for you. So try different things, see what's comfortable, see what works. Again, the goal of a dynamic start is to get momentum off the floor. You don't want to come out of the position, and you don't want to do something that's uncomfortable for your body. Now keep in mind, the momentum you're getting from the dynamic start isn't necessarily just because you're breaking the bar off the floor with a little bit of extra speed. It's probably more likely due to the stretch reflex you get. So for example, if I'm utilizing Klokov's dynamic start, I will stretch the quads, then pick up the hips and flex the quads. In theory, that is applying more force to the lift because of the stretch reflex. Now, I'm not a scientist, so don't quote me. It is something you can Google on your own if you want to learn more about the stretch reflex. For now, that's how I'm going to explain the dynamic start. Just to give you guys an example out of experience, when I started lifting, I didn't have a dynamic start. After about a year, I added in the Klokov-ish one, and I realized after another year of lifting that I had a super inconsistent first pull. I was always out of position, always out of whack. When I started a pull from a static position, everything was way more consistent, but I felt like I couldn't lift as much weight. So I got strong in those static positions. Once I felt more comfortable, I added in a different dynamic start. So now what I do is I start above the bar, my butt's high, I drop down into my starting position and then immediately pull up. And that has been comfortable for me. Keep in mind too, there are incredibly successful lifters who do start from a static position. You have someone like Kendrick Ferris. Dude is hanging out in his starting position for like 15 seconds and then he pulls the bar off the ground. Once again, do what is comfortable for your body, but make sure you are hitting the universal cues that make your snatch and clean and jerk better lifts. Tight back, chest up, drive with the legs, get the bar into the hip, keep the bar close. You get the idea. Most of you know how to complete the pull effectively, but these little nuanced ideas are the things you need a little bit more information about, and that is what I'm here to help with. Thank you guys for watching. I know this was a little short one, but it still is something that needs to be addressed a little bit more by the community. I feel like a lot of people get misinformation on dynamic starts. Some people think you should never use them. Some people that think that's all you should do. Again, build your consistency, figure out the universal things, get strong in proper positions, and then add in a dynamic start that helps give you momentum in the lift. Like the video if you enjoyed, and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more stuff like this. I'll see you guys in the next one.